Risk management is at the heart of what we do. Our deep-rooted industry and technical expertise enables us to manage the unique risks your business faces.
Welcome back. We're looking at elevated risk in a post-pandemic world, and still joining me via Zoom for that discussion is Gareth Beaver, the CEO of SHA Risk Specialists, a member of the Santam Insurance Group, and Yuri Ervi, the CEO of GIB Group. Jane, so before we went into the break, we were talking about cybercrime and how that is really something businesses need to be focused on. And I think what's important is that in this post-pandemic world that we're talking about, people are working from home, and that leaves your business vulnerable, right? They're working, they're remotely connecting, they're online shopping, they're looking at their personal emails, and it just becomes one big risk event. Wouldn't you agree, Gareth?
Yes, absolutely, Bronwyn. And I'm not I'm no particular technical cyber expert, but certainly, we've got some of them in our business. Obviously, the remote working from home has just opened everything up. It's created this extended network and all the potential controls that you had through your at work sort of network security now has obviously been tested to some degree, and absolutely it just creates an environment now making it easier for cyber criminals and to go after vulnerable. So your home networks may not have the same kind of level of protection that you would have at work, where it's kept a whole lot tighter. Going to coffee shops or working from there, etc., going onto public Wi-Fi networks, again, just creates the opportunity for cyber criminals. So no doubt. And then of course, with, as I say, and I think you already mentioned it, with everyone at the moment now really looking to get involved in reading, and they're being attracted to articles of interest that they may never have had the time to do so, or had the inclination or interest to do so, and you can just theme it around some sort of COVID issue, a new vaccine or this or that, whatever of interest. People are clicking on a whole lot more websites and going into certain links, etc., because of all the kind of desire by people now to get more information and more knowledge. Of course, that just again is usually where these kind of sophisticated criminals sort of set up. They're targeting people. Yes.
And it's usually small businesses that are particularly vulnerable because they don't have the infrastructure really, or they haven't put as much money into the infrastructure really. But that doesn't mean that big companies are exempt. Life Healthcare springs to mind when we talk about, loss of data coming through. Yuri, from an insurance perspective, are there certain insurance policies, innovative products that are out there to tackle what I would imagine is quite a new thing for businesses to deal with, that being cybercrime?
Yeah, I think there's a wide offering of insurance protection and offerings available to protect companies and small businesses against the risk of cybercrime. I think perhaps a related risk, that's not always directly dealt with in perhaps a cyber policy or cyber coverage would be, how do you deal with reputational risk that would, inevitably or typically emanate out of a cyber attack? And your point, it could be a data breach or otherwise, particularly in the financial, not exclusive to financial services industry, but obviously there it is very much top of mind. So, I think the reputational risk arena is an area that has been receiving more attention. And I think also, glad to note that, I think there's new innovation, innovations that's being brought about, not only abroad, but the South African insurance market, including the company that Gareth represent, where there are new offerings, that have come about around reputational risks. So I think that's a good example of innovation, pretty rapid, or sort of speed to market, triggered by an event. And I do believe we will see more of that, Bronwyn.
Well, we talk about cybercrime and it seems to happen out there, but if we bring it closer to home and we look at motor fleet, because that's a potential risk as well given the environment. You know, he's talking about crime as a real cornerstone here, hijackings potentially on the rise. But what you also need to be aware of, I guess, is fraudulent insurance claims. Do we see that rising in a post-pandemic world, Gareth?
Yes, for sure. Again, you know, the underlying denominator there being, you know, people under financial pressure, they, you know, but their car or their vehicles and the insurance they're on could be an avenue or could represent an avenue for them to try and turn that asset into some form of cash. You know, this is very often, you know, people could be sort of balance sheet okay at the moment, but cash flow under pressure, you know. And so we start turning some of our balance sheet items like cars into some form of cash flow item. So definitely, without a doubt, I think the insurance industry as a whole that underwrite assets insurance, including motor vehicles, which is one of the biggest areas of asset insurance and property, will certainly expect to see a surge in fraudulent position claims from some of their clients, as I say, looking to get their hands on cash.
Yuri, how do you ensure that fraudulent claims are dealt with?
Sorry, Brenna, I didn't hear the question clearly. Sorry,
no problem. I wanted to find out from you, how do you ensure that fraudulent claims are dealt with?
Yeah, look, you know, the dealing with fraudulent claims is more in the domain of the insurer. You know, in the, you know, typically, you know, in Gareth's organization. But I think a few headlines for me is, you know, when fraud is detected, it will require, you know, in-depth analysis, you know, fact-finding, you know, forensic sort of approach to it. So it is generally a risk that is rather time-consuming, you know, because you've got to basically, obviously, provide the evidence of your loss. So for me, the main area of focus there, or the headline really is about making sure that as a business that you are, you know, properly prepared, that you do the preparation. It also talks to, you know, your own systems in the organization, you know, to be able to track, you know, workflow, etc., in order to pinpoint where the loss actually occurred. So it's really a lot about it is about good practices in the organization to ultimately, you know, prove a valid loss. And obviously, from our perspective, my perspective, you know, we would work very closely with clients in that regard, in an effort to formulate, you know, that type of loss.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. I think we could have spoken for hours about the risks that are out there and how to mitigate them, but we do only have half an hour, so we have to unfortunately leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Gareth Beaver is the CEO of SHA Risk Specialists, a member of the Santam Insurance Group, and Yuri Ervi is the CEO of GIB Group. And that's why I leave things with you for now, but stay tuned because there's lots more to come on Business Day TV.
33 countries, 75 innovative risk solutions, over 100 years of experience. It all adds up to being the largest general insurer in Africa.